in the books for the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. And Lauren, before we ask our question, let's acknowledge it's going to be a long season.
I did try. I mean, listen, I know some people think, oh, you're too sad as a Panther. You're too you're so much of a pessimist, whatever. I'm sorry. I just learned from my history.
It's not pessimism. There's nothing on this roster. There's nothing on this roster.
I mean, there are a lot of concerns.
Yeah.
To come out of the game. I mean, one of them, I remember thinking Thielen got his first catch late.
Yep.
So it's a concern to me that he can't get open against checks notes Falcons DBs. But I will say, to his credit, he did make this one really tough catch towards the end.
That was the one kind of over the middle as he was crossing, and by the time he gets it, he's a little bit further down.
He got clocked.
Yeah.
But he basically bounced right back up I'm not new here, buddy.
Yeah.
I loved that. I do love that about him. However, I do I thought he was going to be more of a kind of safety valve for Bryce, and the fact that he's not is concerning.
Okay, let's jump right to was Bryce too short this week? And if you don't mind, I'm going to answer first here, because this was very much a child trying to compete with the big kids and can't, and so every decision just got worse and worse as the game went on. I've never seen him play like that before.
Well, that is terrifying. Thanks. Whoa, boy. Well, yeah, I think my biggest concern, right, was the fact that some of the the picks were very bad.
The first one was awful.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Yeah, it was. I'm what do you think? That was the biggest thing I took out of the preseason, right? Was that he wasn't really turning it over. He was making good decisions. I think some of the reason they're not taking those downfield shots is because, well, A, they don't have the receivers to do that. And B, you want to make sure that you don't you got to keep the ball.
Right, of course.
You can't turn it over as many times as they did and win games, right? But they did it without taking risks anyway, so I don't know what you do here.
I mean, Bates grabbed both of those interceptions, and that was 100%.
How dare you, sir? You played at Wake Forest. What did I ever do to you?
It's 100% the case of a experienced guy held in high regard going up against a rookie. He took advantage of disguised coverage and took care of it.
Yeah, and he did. But it was after the second to the same guy. Is ooh. And the other thing too, and I think you saw this some too, like you said, and I definitely saw it. I was a little annoyed at times with the Fox guys trying to psychoanalyze him after a incompletion. I'm okay.
After his first incompletion.
Right. I was y'all chill. But at the same time, as the game went on, I felt you could see that he was progressively not losing his mind, but definitely losing his cool. He looked rattled.
Yes. Agreed.
And I'm not trying to be harsh. He's a rookie. Things can change.
Yeah.
But that scared me.
Well, you know what struck me, and obviously I do want to talk about the Alabama-Texas game near the end of the episode, because I do think there's some real Bryce.
It's not too soon?
No, listen, Lauren, it's got to be talked about to be processed.
Fair enough.
Although my wife was working overnight on Saturday, and she texted me who won, and I just texted her back, shut up, I don't want to talk about it. So it took some time.
That's not nice.
No, I know it wasn't nice, and I've since apologized, and we've made amends. No, what I thought was undeniable, I guess, is this was Bryce's wake-up call to it is a different level. And he's a smart dude. I don't think he ever thought this was going to be easy.
I agree.
But, so last year's Alabama-Texas game, incredibly frustrating. 2021 against Auburn, incredibly frustrating. But Bryce always had this confidence that he could take care of it if he had to.
No, yeah. And I think
he didn't have that yesterday.
Right. And I think I before we started recording, I made this comparison too. I think the way you look at Bryce this year is kind of the way I still look at Cam.
Yeah.
In that a lot of times when all else failed, he could do it, he could handle it as best he could. He would keep you in it at least by himself.
Yeah.
And Bryce was that way at Alabama. I never came in with any illusions that he was going to be like Cam was, in the NFL and be that guy that could take over a team. But I think we're both looking at that the same way and pining for the dude that we felt like we could always rely on to give us something.
So this is sort of the, I don't know if upside is the right word, but this is why I don't lose all hope. And I'm
not either.
I totally believe this is one game. This was his first game, right? Peyton Manning said that in terms of understanding the game, Bryce was the first rookie that reminded him of him. And we can all agree Peyton Manning was very good at processing the game that was put in front of him. Peyton Manning's first game was awful.
Yeah, 100%.
Historically awful.
Yes.
So let's not
he struggled a lot as a rookie too.
For sure. Wasn't it was it his first game he threw 4 interceptions? There was a game in his rookie season that he threw 4 interceptions.
He had some nightmarish games his rookie year.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we can't jump to conclusions after one game. I just think it is so jarring, what we know of Bryce versus what we got, and also what we saw in the preseason versus what we got on Sunday.
Right. The turnovers, the biggest thing. Yeah. I mean, it's just the fumble on the handoff. Who knows whose fault it fully was, but it was just like you can't do that. That can't happen.
Can we, you sent me a whole bunch of notes, and I just sort of want to give you some time to just process it in real time, but I do want to acknowledge that Bryce getting so mad that he lightly tapped the training table on the sidelines was adorable.
I like him. I know why he's the way that he is.
Sure.
Okay. I know that they've programmed them to be all football bots that say the same things and aren't interesting people. I would kind of love it if I could see a little genuine, even after his touchdown at one point, I was like, he's not even happy.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I'm like, can you
and see, to me, it's funny you point that out, because that's one of the things that I noticed was different is at Alabama, he never looked disappointed because he always had that resting smile, and now he's got a resting
bee face. Not really bee face, more like a resting pout face.
Yeah, it's more like someone just told him that there was a Batman movie where the suit had nipples. Like his face just looked very confused.
You could have just stopped at most Batman movies lately, but whatever.
Lately, can we agree? By the way, they're all bad.
I like Dark Knight very much. I thought it was a legitimately very good movie. The rest of them can be fun in their own ways, but no, I wouldn't have called most of them objectively good.
I will give you the Dark Knight is a good movie.
I thought it was really good.
I think the character is very flawed and boring.
The Joker?
No, Batman.
Oh, Batman. Oh, yeah. Agree. As I heard in another movie I saw this weekend, Batman is a fascist.
Yeah, 100%. People think,
was Blue Beetle.
People. I can't remember. I don't know who it is that I think people think Bruce Wayne would be. Bruce Wayne would be Donald Trump. Why do we pretend he wouldn't be?
Well, except for the fact that he's all secretive and stuff.
Oh, that's true.
So there is that big difference.
Wait a minute, but he also does have a gigantic spotlight that he shines in the sky whenever he is out to fight.
No, that's true. And he does do a lot of charity stuff in honor of Bruce Wayne doing charity work. We get it, man. You're rich and give money to people. Cool.
I feel like this is the right place to pivot to just letting you work through it.
Look, I have a lot of complicated feelings surrounding this game because it's like you say, you're never going to put too much stock in a rookie quarterback's first game. Does the fact that it's the Falcons help? I think they have the most new starters of any team in the league on defense. And I literally wrote in my notes, let's see how we f this up. Right. And we did. We did. And it's the other part that was frustrating actually is that there were a lot of reasons to have some hope in general for the offense. The first drive I thought was called really well, executed really well. That shows to me good coaching by the staff. They knew what would work. They boom, boom, boom. They went down and they didn't score. The third and fourth down calls on that drive, let's take those out, I guess. But everything else up to that point was encouraging to me. There were a lot of times last year that offense didn't move like that against anybody.
Yeah.
So for me, am I somewhat encouraged by the fact that they really could move the ball sometimes, especially when they weren't down? Yes, that was nice. They had some nice moments in the running game, but they always they still are managing to get behind the chains a lot, which is inferior. It's you're false starting, on a first, as soon as you get a first down and gain some momentum, it's they could just continuously make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's not more annoying because at least it makes me think, okay, if they can stop making some of these mistakes, at least I know they have a competent enough offense to hang in games if the defense can be okay. And I was less worried about that. I mean, I was listening to the Panthers broadcast on the way home, so I heard the last 8 minutes live or so. But it was acting that Bijan and them have run all over them, and a little bit, but that wasn't the case most of the game.
No, and see, that's what I found so frustrating is, now granted, I would watch the preseason games, once Bryce was out, I was done.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't think I really fully appreciated how good the defense could be. And the defense, like Brian Burns and
pay him, please.
Yeah,
pay him.
No, I 100%.
Pay that man.
Burns
please.
and Brown both made great plays.
Derek Brown. I was like, a Derek Brown sighting is always encouraging.
I mean, 4 sacks in this game for the team.
It's awesome.
But anytime that it resulted in good starting position for the offense, like there was never a conversion until that one right before halftime.
They still don't play complementary football very well, if at all.
Yeah.
But at least we know that the units on their own are competent enough to be okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if Bryce is going to have turnover, it's just all these conflicting thoughts going on in my mind of like, should I feel okay? Because I literally was like, how am I feeling good about the way the offense is played when they've turned it over 3 times? That's literally how badly Matt Rule broke me.
Yeah.
Okay. That I'm happy that they can move the football. I don't even need them to score it. I'm like, first down.
Speaking of moving the football, what was up with this? Was both defenses, not just the Panthers.
Yeah.
What was up with every time the Panthers or the Falcons turned to their second running back, Chuba or
they were better.
Tyler Algier.
That was weird, right?
Not only were they better, like they were bouncing off of the first guy every single time.
Yeah, they looked great.
Yeah.
They look like longtime starters.
Tyler Algier is out of BYU, so he's probably 35 and has only been in the league 2 years.
Right, exactly.
But man, he shouldn't be that good.
Yeah, no. But also I feel like by the end, the defense, both literally and I mean, Brian Burns didn't come out, Shaq Thompson didn't come out.
Yep.
I just feel like morally they were a little bit defeated. When they were like, oh, this is not, the offense wasn't moving the ball for a while there at all. And then they were turning it over. And it's like, I do think that can have a mental effect on any defense to 100%. See that. Because I honestly was like pretty pleased most of the game. Like they had a great pass rush.
Yeah.
That was nice to see. I know it's the Falcons, so it's whatever, but still, it's nice to see it.
But listen, talk about having a mental effect on the defense by the second half when not only are the Panthers not moving the ball, but the Falcons are, and that defense just cannot get off the field.
Right.
You understand, the fatigue, but also the frustration.
Yes, and I know this might bore some people. I don't care. How many times did special teams hurt them?
Yeah. More than should have.
I feel like I'm going insane. P.S. What was it? I think Ian Thomas showed up once having that. Maybe that wasn't on a special teams play. I can't remember, but I think he was the one that blocked that guy out of bounds.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
That was Ian Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm like, we have a fast tight end we could be using in the offense, and instead he's useless on special teams. So that's cool. Like you can't do that's how they end up getting a horse collar tackle that was awful, by the way. You want to see a horse collar that was that's why they made the rule. That's the one. But then they nullify it and have to start at their own one. Also, I'm sorry, what was he doing taking that ball?
Yeah.
Where did he think he was going?
Inside their own one. It was ridiculous.
That's college level mistakes on special teams.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of it. It doesn't have to be this way. It's not super easy to fix necessarily. I'm not saying it is, but it show me you're trying.
Yeah.
Please.
Agreed.
They got a penalty on an extra point too at some point. I'm just why?
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing this to me?
Speaking of frustrating, some of us put money on the games each week in varying ways. And I played the over on Bryce's yardage and touchdown total.
Oh, honey.
203.5 and 1.5 for touchdowns. And I thought I was going to get the touchdowns.
Actually, I could see why that's tempting.
I thought I was going to get the touchdowns.
For a while, it looked like you would get the yards.
Oh, very quickly I learned I was not going to get the yards because his longest completion of the day came in the second quarter for 14 yards.
Yeah, that was. And his deep throws, I feel like they were closer in the preseason. And,
yes, agreed.
I'm not saying those are all on him. I mean, Terrence Marshall slowed down once. I was like, what are you actually doing? Yeah. Can you not judge the ball in the air? If not, I'm concerned.
Right.
As a receiver, kind of important.
But there was the one where he just straight overthrew Mingo by about 5 yards.
And that was when he was rattled too.
Yes,
and you could
100%.
Tell. Yeah. And so that's not good either because it's no, you've really got to hit those when they're actually there.
And that one was there.
Yes.
I don't know that Mingo had enough of a step that he was going to blow by and make that 6, but that Mingo should have been able to get that.
It was frustrating for me. They didn't put the ball in his hands early on that first drive on 3rd and 4th down. Give him at least the option.
Yep. By the end, Bryce averages less than 4 yards a throw in this game. Like that's, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not giving up hope by any stretch. I've just never seen this kind of Bryce before.
That's upsetting.
Yeah.
But the Ridder stat line was both hilarious and infuriating.
Yes, agreed. Because he didn't break 100 yards through the air until midway through the fourth quarter.
He had 9 yards, I think, until the third. At some point in the third, he broke 9 yards.
Yeah.
9 yards. It was like 5 of 6 for 9 yards or something like that, or 7 of 8 for 9 yards or something. It was and a touchdown. I was like, that is such a stat line that would only exist against the Carolina Panthers.
By the end of the first quarter, he still had negative yards because of the batted pass
he made to himself.
By the way, who would have guessed?
That's not fair, by the way.
Who would have guessed in his first NFL game? We could definitively say Bryce Young was not the one too short to be playing quarterback in this game,
right? And what was frustrating too about his performance was that anytime he was made an awful decision or a terrible throw, he was getting bailed out.
Yes, 100% of the time.
Or got a lucky bounce or whatever. And I'm sitting here like, man, why don't we get this? I'm sorry. Listen, Falcons fans, I know you have bad luck. I've seen it against everyone else. I have. And I actually feel badly for you a lot because of that. Because when I think I'm cursed, I look at y'all and I'm like, okay, I get that it's not as bad as this. However, you never share that with us.
Yeah.
The last time they did that with us was it's like 2007 or something. I think it was like Christmas or Thanksgiving game, one of those.
Yeah.
And the Panthers literally ran Wildcat like every single play and won anyway. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But why don't we get Falcons?
Yeah.
Fails.
So this is a good place to transition to the game on Saturday night, because I had that same sort of feeling. Like every time something bad happened to Texas, it would be bad, become stupid, and then become good somehow for Texas.
It was exactly this. It was this very similar type of game. That's not to say Texas isn't more talented than the Falcons, relative to their respective leagues.
Well, we might not have to say relative to their respective leagues.
Right? I'm just, okay, fair. I mean, Bijan Robinson was one of the best for a little bit, was one of the best players on the field. And I'm like, wow, big weekend for Texas.
Yes, indeed.
Love to see it. I don't.
Look, as a Bama fan, in fact, it was Lauren that first told me this. It made me confront this, that so rarely does Alabama lose that of course it's going to take the dumbest luck in the world for it to happen. You just have to accept that.
It's like anything else, in college football in general, you have to be lucky and good.
Yeah,
you
for
just do. And the NFL some too, right? And you see at least again with the Panthers, you see that at least the tools are there.
Mm-hmm.
And Alabama has tools. It's just you're never going to know what the tool's going to do.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. It is not because it was an Alabama game. It is because it is a game that last year Bryce was literally the difference in.
Yes. And
quarterback composure is ultimately what cost Alabama this game. And I don't put that on Jalen Milroe, right? This is his third start in college.
Of course.
This is, I believe his first home game. Or I'm sorry, his first home game against a Power 5 opponent. And there was a talent difference. There really was. Texas has a more talented offense than Alabama does.
Yeah, they do. They have legit NFL guys on their offense. Yeah.
But man, the decision making and the utter lack of respect for him as a passer are the things that allowed Bryce to make the plays he did on that final drive last year that Milroe never had a shot at.
Yeah, and I think you saw Milroe almost struggling, not quite the same as Bryce. It's different,
right?
Because he's like the baseball hitter that baseball hitter. I know that's not the right way.
No,
whatever.
That's the
he's
a hitter. I played in high school.
He's like a hitter that will get you a lot of home runs, but also strike out a lot. So his batting average will be absurdly low, but he has a lot of home runs, and so you kind of have to take the good with the bad. And obviously, Alabama maybe doesn't have a choice. Maybe they do. I don't know.
No, that's the tough thing to confront is maybe they just don't have a choice right now.
Right.
And I think if you look, when I went to school, we won 3 games in a season twice while I was there. I mean, as a win total, we only ended up with 3 wins in a season twice. So I don't want to go back to that. There's a whole generation of Bama fans though that don't get that this is possible for us.
I know.
Not that that's what's going to happen this year, but not double-digit wins every year.
It's not like you've always been that way.
Right.
You've had lean times, of course.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, everybody goes through some of that.
Have I shared with you my theory that this is Nick Saban's last year?
I don't know that he'd want to go out like this personally, but we'll see.
I don't think he planned on going out like this,
Yeah.
but I don't think you buy a retirement style beach home as far away from home as he did. And also,
yeah, but he probably has a private jet.
Well, he has use of the university's private jet. Why buy your own when you can just use someone else, whatever you want to? No, I
Coach,
think
you want to buy your own jet?
He's been he's been so maniacal about being able to be within 3 hours of Tuscaloosa if he ever needs to be.
He's shown some like perspective and growth this year. He's getting older, man. That doesn't mean he's going to retire necessarily. I think maybe he's just not the like football robot guy he was before.
Might be. I think, and I say this as somebody that both likes Nick Saban and likes Pat McAfee. I don't think Nick Saban agrees to put up with Pat McAfee.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
If he's not headed to ESPN next season.
When I saw that news, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, I texted you, let me rephrase. I tried to text you when that news came out. What do you think it would take for Graffiti to give us the money to do this? My therapist's name is Laria.
Okay.
And so I get a text back from my therapist, like, I don't know that I can help you. Like, oh, right.
Oh my gosh. I've done that more times than I care to admit. Sorry.
My therapist has already seen a lot of my thoughts on Bryce Young just within 3 weeks of us doing, or 4 weeks of us doing this show.
She's going to be like, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah. You really need to prioritize.
Right. No, but I'm both more nervous, weirdly, about like the Panthers the rest of the way and less.
Yeah.
And my brain, that's why I'm wearing my little question mark earrings here, because that's kind of how I feel.
It's the only proper earring choice today. All right, calm down.
Yeah. Jeez. Always piping up when no one asks. That's why I turn her off. No, thank you. But yeah, like I don't quite know how to feel yet. I think part of it that's frustrating is that it's the Falcons and they're not supposed to be very good, and they didn't even look very good against us. I mean, they didn't even have a sack until like the late in the third quarter.
Right.
The O-line, that's another thing we didn't address that we addressed a lot before this. I mean, better than the preseason for sure.
Better than the preseason, but slowly got worse over the course of the game.
Yes. And then Icky had yet another WTF sack allowed moment. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are you okay? Like, what happens on those plays? Like, I'm genuinely asking. It's yet another time where he's looking around like, block? Who?
Yeah, no, it's a really good way to put it. Like genuinely asking, because this does not make sense based on what we know of Ike Ekwonu.
And like humans in general, that they can see people.
Right.
I mean, I'm like, can you not?
Yeah.
Can you not see him?
But hey, listen, Bryce's dad works in mental health care, and he will get this all straight. Could they have picked, by the way, and look, I don't like to bash broadcasters. I know they're never like actually against your team, and I don't think they were against the Panthers at all.
In spite of my angry notes about them?
Yeah. I don't think they were lined up against the Panthers at all. I'm just saying, Chris Myers and Robert Smith are the two least talented people possible calling football games, and they got assigned to Bryce's pro debut.
Hey, Chris Myers didn't need you to say Carolina will get nothing and have to like it. It's unnecessary. Just pipe down, sir.
Take
it easy.
I've heard from multiple people that worked with him that like that is like he kind of enjoys getting those shots.
Which I mean, respect, because I probably would too. So it's fine. I spent half of the game initially being like, "Is Tony Romo doing this game?" And then it's like, "Oh, it's not. It's Robert."
Do you think they'll get like a Romo game or one of the Prime Crew games this year?
Why would they?
I guess. I guess technically they have a Thursday night game and a Monday night game.
I will say too, like, it's possible that they might eventually get flexed.
Yeah,
because they have a rookie quarterback, but he's obviously going to need to start playing well.
Right.
I feel like people really started paying attention to Cam after game 1.
Yeah,
because he was so good in it.
Right.
But like, and that got a lot of buzz around them, and that kind of kept up because of how Cam is. But that's what's going to stink for him, is that it would have been nice for him to have come out, and even if they lost, like get a good performance under his belt. The Falcons, they don't always make sense for the Falcons against the Panthers. Like they don't always perform as if the Falcons would perform against the Panthers. But I almost long for the days when like Julio Jones cooked us. And instead I'm getting a dude who was like throwing horrible, like inaccurate passes in DesmondRidder, somehow having them magically bounce into his receiver's hands or into his own hands.
Yeah. I appreciate that they are on Monday Night Football next week.
I don't.
But it is the early of the two games, so we will not get Troy Aikman just openly scolding Bryce Young every time he makes a bad decision, which honestly would have made me feel better this week.
I mean, I guess one thing I can say for the Panthers and for the outlook moving forward, I also despise the Saints, but whatever.
Sure.
That's neither here nor there.
Should.
Yes.
Unless you live in New Orleans, everyone should.
Agreed. However, like looking ahead a little bit, I was like, I don't want to be on Monday Night Football with the way they are right now.
Yeah. Because
then everybody's just going to check out on them. And at least I was also thinking to myself, at least we're not the New York Giants. Because like there's one thing to feel your optimism deflate after your opener. It's another thing to have it like deflated, crushed, melted down, obliterated into smithereens. And that's exactly like, so I can always find a little silver lining. And I also, not to go like too non sequitur, but I want to give a shout out to Jamar Chase for one of the best quotes I've ever seen. Did you see this quote?
Oh yes, I did. I did see it. I can't recite it, but I did see it.
Yeah, it was basically about like I called him a bunch of elves and we lost to a bunch of elves. So that's on me. Or like something like, it wasn't that's on me. It was like, so that sucks. Basically.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that was basically his quote.
And his interview was actually better like watching it and listening to it. It was just amazing. Yeah, I'm just frustrated because I called their ass elves and we just lost to some elves.
Next Sunday, be sure and join our friends at Graffiti. They are doing Sunday football every single week. They've got the Sunday ticket package, 19 TVs, weekly beer and bourbon specials, weekly giveaways, halftime axe throwing contests where they give away gift cards. And plus, Lauren, we just like graffiti.
Right. DesmondRidder, you don't want. We love graffiti. No. And I actually may even be there on Sunday. We shall see. I miss it. I haven't been in a little while, so I want to go back. I need to go regularly or else I start to get sad to graffiti. I genuinely love it. It's like my favorite bar right now.
If the Panthers get to 500 by, let's say, by their 8th game, if they can be 4-4 by their 8th game,
it's a big ask, honey.
It is a big ask, but we will do a live watch party at Graffiti for game 9.
Okay.
All right. And first round on us.
Yeah.
It's got to be a big ask.
Okay.
It's got to be a big ask.
Okay.
But if you
like
come
for
in,
everyone,
if you come in obviously in Panthers paraphernalia, if you're obviously there for Bryce,
who is in week 9, we should check because I will say that there are some teams that if you show up in their paraphernalia, I'm not buying your drink.
We should probably figure out who they're. All right, let's see if this can happen. Okay, I'm going to read you the first 8 games.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So Falcons already 0-1. All right. Lauren, you should know it gets rough.
I know that. I've looked ahead.
Versus Saints.
Ugh.
At the Seahawks. Versus the Vikings.
Ooh.
At the Lions.
I would rather that be at home.
At the Dolphins.
Oh, God. My childhood team. I hate when they play.
Versus the Texans.
Oh, good.
And versus the Colts. So
maybe.
I'm not
maybe on the Saints too. I was about
to say, I'm not ruling out that they could beat the Saints.
No.
I'm not ruling out that it's on the road is a little
the Lions.
I was going to say Dolphins.
Well, their history against the Dolphins is actually terrible.
Yeah.
And again, I know this because I was like transitioning from being a fan of both into being a fan of one. And I knew when I rooted for the Panthers and was like mad at the Dolphins through the entirety of the like 3 games in a row that they played, I was like, okay, I know what's really happening here. I'm all Panthers now. But I did grow up rooting for them and they just never do well against them. Rarely. Yeah. Even one time when they won in Miami, it took like a last second catch or something like that, which was really cool. But also like, and Tua's more than capable. Like,
I want to believe not only because he's another Bama guy, he's also my fantasy quarterback, but like, I'll believe he can do it for a whole season when I see it.
Did you draft later?
By the time I got down to drafting a quarterback, because running backs and receivers kept falling to me, I didn't think would be there.
I get that. Yeah. Totally.
So by the time I finally said, all right, Demetri, it doesn't matter what's on the board, it was him or Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not sure I trust either one more than the other.
And you didn't want to root for Aaron Rodgers. Let's be honest.
I will tell you, he lasted so long, he ended up being my backup quarterback.
I was going to say, after you picked Tua, you then picked Adam Thielen for your bench.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not they true. Had this big graphic too on the broadcast, like at one point where they were like, new additions to the offense and free agent signing, and they had all of their pictures, and I'm like, well, now it looks sadder.
It really does. It really does.
It's a fantasy bench ass looking group. It's no offense.
It's like being a kid and opening all your Christmas presents, and by the time you get to the end, you think, okay, well, there had to be one I was excited about that I've just forgotten, and then you look at them and like, no, there's not.
You know what? You have fantasy drafts like that sometimes, where you're like, you know what? I made a smart pick at every level, and you look at it and you're like, oh, this team is terrible.
Right. You know who my oh man, I outsmarted everybody. My first round pick was Travis Kelce. So there goes my season.
Oh, ouch.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just like that's kind of what those guys are. Like they're good. They're good enough to score you points when they're in the game, when your starters are, or they're your flex.
Yeah.
They're flex. They're flex fantasy plays. That's really what it is. They're probably better than like bench. You're probably starting them in some spot more often than not, but they're flex.
Yeah, the Carolina flexes.
Oh boy.
Which, I mean, like if we don't have a team in some sort of like
should I play a fantasy league with you and somehow manage to draft all of them? See how well I do. I'll draft the best players around them.
Yeah,
but I'll prioritize drafting them
just to prove the point of how
I don't even need to prove
of how flexy this roster is.
Right? Yeah, it's like, ugh.
All right, I guess I do need to end the read here real quick. No, not your fault. My fault too, because I shouldn't have played along. Graffiti in downtown Cary, 158 East Cedar Street. This weekend's beer special on the 17th is on Sierra Nevada. So it's not like you're getting the swill.
That's right.
All right.
And they've got great cocktails too.
They've got great everything.
Like the cocktails, though, they're my favorite I've had like anywhere around here.
As a man who's thrown axes at multiple places, quality axes too, and a quality axe board.
Yeah, I'm not the person y'all want throwing axes.
No, that is true.
Yeah, you saw. People were trying to help me, and I was like, I've had multiple alcohol drinks, right?
Right.
And I'm not a very coordinated person without them.
This is why I did not try to help you, is because A, I knew we had all been drinking.
Yes.
But B, I didn't want to be the one that finally Lauren yelled at and said, I don't need help.
I was about
axes.
to. Yeah. I was very close.
I could see it on your face.
I was like, can everyone just shut up, please?
All right. So on Thursday, the second episode the second life of this show, where I talk to somebody, I haven't decided yet on what they saw last week and what they expect going into Monday Night Football. I guess this week it should probably come out Friday, right? If they have a Monday game instead of a Sunday game.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess.
All right. Well, I think we've made this as exciting as humanly possible for you to want to tune in.
Yes, exactly.